What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome to another edition of MVP Sports Live. I am joined on this beautiful Tuesday, like I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hello, everybody.
Dave, how you doing today? How's your day been? I know pre-show you were telling me you woke up a little late today. Little bags under the eyes.
My fucking shit's still out of whack. Like, can't go to sleep early anymore.
Yeah,
so now I'm like,
Shadowlands ain't gonna help that, right?
yeah. Well, now I'm like, well, shit. Do I just make the jump and stay overnight?
Oh God, don't do
and
that.
ruin it and try to fix it.
At 30, you can't do that. I will tell you from experience. I tried that a couple times this summer. It doesn't work out like you think it will.
No,
like back when I was like in my prime in college
for a day, but
I don't know. Like you can't lay down. You can't lay down then at that point.
Yeah,
because the second you lay down, you're out. So I would what's the word I'm looking for? Suggest against that.
I need to get some melatonin.
Maybe it's just me. Melatonin. Some melatonin.
I went on a kick where I needed to fall asleep for a while, and then I built up like a tolerance, and then I just quit. And now I need to maybe pick some up again. Help myself knock the fuck out earlier, because this is I can't keep doing it, man. 2 a.m. is not good for me.
Last night you didn't get off at 2 a.m.
No, but I didn't go to sleep till 2 a.m.
Oh, good point. You were just like laying in the bed. I can't go to sleep. I had that last night.
Book on tape, just cruising. But
Dave's like, I gotta find something to put me to sleep. But Dave, today's show ain't gonna put you to sleep. That's for sure. We got some bangers.
Maybe
we got some bangers today, Dave. Talking a little NFL before the first topic, because there's some breaking news there. Got some big NBA talk. Got some fantasy football at the end. But let's get everything out of the way. Some housekeeping. Discord, go ahead and join it. Link down below. ! Discord and Twitch chat. It's a great time. I don't have to keep telling you, or I do have to keep telling you because you enjoy it.
You just feel like you have to keep joining it. That's what we say in Discord.
Yeah, but someone new might be watching, doesn't know we have a Discord. Well, now you know. So now it's on you if you don't join. Also, if you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is the main way. Bronze, gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold, and then platinum. Patreon sponsors Pat Hill and Philly Sean. We thank you. You can also sub to us on Twitch. If you want to support us that way, you can do it that way and still get the rewards of a bronze patron. And then we're on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But we're also on YouTube, MVP Sports. So go ahead and check us out at both places. There you go, Dave. It's on. It's done. It's over. I said and it's like I missed the D there. It's on. But we're starting off the show, Dave. A little pre-talk before the main topic, because the NFL is deciding to go the MLB route, it seems. Not the NBA route, where the NBA had no problems. But it was announced today that 3 Titans players have tested positive for COVID. And here's the updates we have. First off, Adam Schefter putting out a tweet that says, out of the abundance of caution, the organization has decided to work remotely today as we follow NFL protocols related to the COVID-19 virus. Several tests have come back positive and are working through the process of confirming them. We will have more information tomorrow. We also know that canceled everything with the Vikings, because the Vikings played the Titans this week. And I hate to bring this up, Dave, but a certain someone said something that I was like, I think Kirk Cousins said, if I die, I die. So, of course, the Vikings would be in the middle of this. And then we also have a tweet from Tom Pescalero where it says, as of now, Titans, Steelers, and Texans, Vikings, those games are both on for Sunday. However, the NFL is evaluating the situation and will adjust if needed as more information is gathered. Teams are still working through contact tracing data, etc. A lot of moving parts. Dave, what do you think comes out of this? Is this just like, okay, we are going to quarantine the ones who are sick, games will still be on? Or could there be a situation where Titans, Steelers, Texans, Vikings, they don't happen this week?
I'm pretty sure it'll happen. I think that the availability of tests to NFL teams really help this shit. So like they're doing all the right things, the contact tracing, everybody's staying separate. We're keeping things home. We're keeping things clear. And then once things are, everybody's healthy, good to go, they go. The people who have COVID obviously kept on the side. We'll see what the situation is with them. Hopefully none of them have any long-term impact from getting COVID. I don't know if they were, what's the word? They didn't have the effect. You know what I mean?
Oh, the symptoms.
They have it.
Asymptomatic is what you're thinking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So hopefully they're that. Same with the 5 in the front office who traveled with the team. So here's hoping. But I don't think they're going to delay it. It seemed like this morning everybody was talking, they have to delay it, and there's an opening week 7, week 8 where this will work perfectly for both teams. Now there's like, fuck it, we'll just roll forward. Like, I like it. I like the idea. I mean, we're already playing risky games. Why risk anything more? Just keep going.
Is that sarcasm, Dave? We're already playing a risky game. Why not risk it even more?
Just keep trucking, baby. Just keep trucking.
I mean, that was the MLB's plan, right? The MLB's plan was, we got people sick. I don't know, keep them home for a little bit.
Those teams made the playoffs.
One of them did.
I thought the Yankees.
Okay, I'm thinking the Cardinals didn't. The Phillies didn't. They didn't make the playoffs. The Cardinals, they were done for like almost 2 weeks. They didn't make the playoffs. The Phillies didn't. They were impacted because of the Marlins getting it. I think the only two. The Marlins were the ones. They were the ones that got like the first ever COVID cases. So yeah, just a little bit of NFL news to start developing. We'll have to see how this plays out the rest of the week. But Dave, the big thing we are talking about today is that this was breaking news right before we started the show yesterday during Games Live, and we decided to kick it off to today. The LA Clippers have decided to, like, the way ESPN worded it is very interesting because they never used the F word, Dave. They never said he was fired. According to the ESPN article, it says Doc Rivers has stepped down as coach of the LA Clippers in what Chairman Steve Ballmer called a mutual decision. It's one of those, like, you're stepping down from the team.
It's saving face. It's the franchise not throwing him under the bus. And they're not like, we fired that idiot. Like, Doc Rivers is a respected coach, an NBA champion. Like, he's held in high regard. You don't fire that guy. You be like, hey, this is not working out. I think it's best if we both part ways.
Ballmer's quote is, Doc has been a terrific coach for the Clippers, an incredible ambassador, and a pillar of strength during tumultuous times. He won a heck of a lot of games and laid a foundation for this franchise. And Dave, we're going to talk about Doc and his future, but we're going to start with the Clippers of where do they go from here? Because to me, I know we've talked about like, what if they fire Doc? Well, they actually did it. He's gone. Yeah. And it's one of the things where everything I'm seeing is people go, Ty Lue, welcome to the LA Clippers. Is it that easy to where like Ty Lue walks into this job and this is like handwritten for Ty Lue? Or is there a case for somebody else out there to be the head coach of the LA Clippers?
Look, Ty Lue, I don't know if he is the guy. It does seem like he is the likely early favorite. I will give you that. But I don't know. Like it seems like they need someone who could control the locker room narrative. And that was a lot of the stuff coming out now. A lot of the rat shit coming out right now as well. Kawhi's never been a locker room leader. He's always been, on his own, doing his own thing. And he doesn't really do that stuff. PG-13 didn't have the respect of the locker room. Pat Beverly talked shit. Trez talked a lot of shit and wasn't all in on the team. He's out this year. It's just everybody seemed to have like their own like thing going on. So I think the locker room itself just was not a communal place. Like they did not have that great sense of like, hey, we're one team, one direction, all row in the same direction kind of deal.
Yeah.
Row the boat shit. So I think that Tyler's a good guy for that. If you're trying to get that locker room cohesion back, if you're trying to say, hey, I'm going to have a coach who gets superstar mentality. He's been around superstars. He's coached LeBron James. He knows what it takes to win a finals. He knows exactly how to keep a locker room together. You've heard, when he was in Cleveland with all the shit with Kyrie, K-Love, like they had all the drama and like he kept it down to the point where they were still able to succeed. So I think that he does have really good qualification for this job. It's just a matter of, if they want to have somebody who has better coaching skills on the court, X's and O's, or if you can leave that up to assistant coaches and say, hey, the voice of our team is our coach, where it's not a locker room led team, it's a coach led team, but he is a player favorite kind of a guy.
Yeah. And kind of the thing I think of is that's why to me, Ty Lue is not the guy for this job, because and I've said it before, Ty Lue was the perfect coach for that Cavs team. Because you had a player in LeBron James who, much like Michael Jordan, much like Kobe, like not exactly, but in the same sense of they're almost like an extension of the head coach on the court, to where LeBron is, the way he thinks about the game is very special. And he is basically doing all the X's and O's in his head and can direct the guys where to go. Where all Ty Lue had to do is, hey, I got to make sure they're in the right spots. If I need to step in that area, I can step in that area. It's not like it was all up to LeBron, but it was more of the culture, to me, was the main part of it, is making sure that this
he made calls as far as who's on the court at the right time situationally.
Yeah. Like
you said, LeBron knows how to read the court, but Ty Lue set him up,
Yeah, and I feel like Kawhi and Paul George aren't, I don't know, to me they're not like that, to where, like we mentioned, Kawhi Leonard is not the outspoken guy. Like, he's not going to be the rah-rah guy in the huddle. He's basically we've called him the silent assassin of basically lunch pail. I'm going to do my job. I'm just going to expect you to do your job. I shouldn't have to tell you to do your job or to lift you up. Yeah.
But you got to have that rest of the team on the same page. I mean, that's what we saw from him up in Toronto. That's what we saw from him in his time on the Spurs. He is absolutely a top 4 talent in the NBA, and he's just ruthless with the shot. But if the rest of the team isn't playing with him, then how is he supposed to do his job? And I think that's the problem. So,
who is the candidate though? I'm looking at it, it's the first one that comes into my head is, does this affect the 76ers and what we talked about them? Does this now go, well, Mike D'Antoni was supposed to be the guy for the Sixers, the one that we think is going to go there. Does this throw a wrench in that? Or is this D'Antoni's still going to probably go to the Sixers? Maybe someone else goes over. I mean, people are throwing out Jeff Van Gundy. He's always thrown out with these.
Yeah, but he's never gotten a job.
Yeah, that's the thing, where he hasn't been on the bench since you and I were in high school, Dave. You and I were juniors in high school. Yeah, juniors in high school, because season would have ended in 2007 when he was last on the court. Other names, I'm looking at a CBS article here. They have Sam Cassell, assistant coach on that bench. Does he just get the promotion up? Brett Brown, which I think would be interesting.
Ring the bell.
I don't know if that's the right choice, but here's the thing. When I see Brett Brown's name, I almost was like, Brett Brown could be the guy, because it's what you need. You need a guy. Brett Brown is very good at the rah-rah, the ring the bell, getting guys motivated, and could be the guy to give you the culture that you need. You're not going to get what you need out of the stars of hey, I'm going to bring up everyone around me. Well, you know what? Let's put that on the coach. And Brett Brown could do that. The only thing that I question with Brett Brown is, and this is, I believe I've heard you and Jake talk about his, I can't remember if it was his personnel decisions or his defensive rotations. Because the thing I think about, it's if you're questioning Brown's defensive rotations, could it be something of, well, you've got great defensive players on this team to where that just overcomes that? Or
that's his offensive.
He would have offensive ones.
Defensively, when 1-5 with Ben and Joe, he was able to cover up for a lot.
Yeah.
Offensively, they no creativity. They missed out on so many opportunities, and he didn't know how to utilize the personnel to the best of their efforts. He tried to force square, cube into a triangle. hole, whatever. You get that.
Would that be a problem with Kawhi and PG, or would it be, hey, better players are going to overmask that to where it won't be a big issue with the Clippers like it was with the Sixers?
Honestly, he probably isn't the right guy for this kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at him as a coach who necessarily has that head coach who has that championship quality stuff. Assistant coach again, sure. Head coach again for a middling team, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he does not seem to have that special it factor to be a head coach for a championship quality team. His ability to pivot mid-game based off of, hey, here's how the game's rolling. Here's what changes we need to roll with. He doesn't adapt well when it's on, when the pressure's on, which is something that obviously this Clippers team needs to do. So honestly, I think it's a fucking shame because this Clippers team, I know they made it to the fucking, second round, but had they been able to hire a coach earlier, Tom Thibodeau would have been a dream for this team.
Yeah.
Tom fucking Thibodeau would have had this team in the championship. I know as someone who's talked shit about the man, who's lived with him as our head coach for years, I know Tom Thibodeau pretty fucking well.
Yeah.
Had he been on the market available still, he would have been phenomenal as this Clippers head coach.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He got hired on July 30th. So, at that point, no one was even thinking that the Clippers were going to part ways because everyone was on the train of, the Clippers are the favorite to get to the finals, if not win the finals.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just saying, it's unfortunate because I think timing wise, he would have been the ideal fit for this offseason addition. Going forward, I see the shout out for Becky. I don't know how her relationship and Kawhi is. That's the problem, is because of the way that things ended with Kawhi and the Spurs. I don't know what Kawhi's uncle, that group's feeling Becky Hammon are, just because she's coming from the Spurs group. I don't know if he's going to hold anything against her. I don't know if that'd be right or wrong. Yeah. If she is the best coach for it, great. But that does beg a question of personality might clash because of past relationships.
Well, the thing with Becky too is, and this is not a knock against her. It's just, I don't think on the Clippers side, this would be a right situation for Becky Hammon to where and I would say this if anybody was even for example, Retro in the Discord, Retro is a Clippers fan. He brought up oh man, I really hope we get Wes from Denver. I would almost say I would stay away from an assistant coach because I don't know if I don't know if hiring a coach where this is their first time as a head coach is the right kind of call. The only exception to that would be maybe a Sam Cassell, only because he's the assistant coach of the Clippers and already knows the locker room. He's got that rapport with them. But even with Sam Cassell, when you're the head coach, it's a little bit different than being the assistant coach, just the assistant coach. But like I said, having that rapport with the team, if it's a good rapport, you don't you just eliminate that step then, because no one needs to get used to someone new. That's for me, I'm thinking is it a Brett Brown? Is it a Mike D'Antoni? Is it a
Ty Lue's the lead assistant on the team? Yeah. So it's Ty Lue, Sam Cassell.
Good point.
So that's why I get Sam Cassell. We've heard the talks about him needing an opportunity to be a head coach at the NBA level.
Yeah.
But it would be he's jumping over Ty Lue. And I don't know that the Clippers are going to do that. I still like the idea of Dan Antoni. I'm sorry. If they could figure out a way to put him there, they would be in business.
Hey, if I'm Mike D'Antoni, I'm going to LA way before I'm going to Philly. So this could be something that hurts the Sixers, because even if the Clippers look at D'Antoni having a chance to win a championship with Kawhi and PG, I might be able to get there with Ben and Joe. The teams are in different situations to where if he's even looked at by the Clippers, Sixer fans are not going to be happy.
The problem is the Clippers have 1 year.
Yep.
They have 1 year to make things work. If they don't, and there's a lack of faith, they lose everything. They don't own their pick for the next 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can opt out after next season.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck do you have then? You have nothing. You are in the worst position in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a hell of a bucket to get yourself out of. So like they've got one chance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the idea that it's like, hey, we weren't that far off. We lacked some cohesion. Easy move for me is definitely Ty Lue. I think the baller move would be if you go out and get yourself Dan Antoni. But I think that him to the Sixers seems so strong at this point. I'd be surprised if it wasn't true.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I land on it. I like the idea of the assistant coaches for other jobs. I agree with you, though. Here, this seems like you have to bring in somebody who's had their time in the NBA, who's got that polish, who's got that reputation, who's well respected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say Mike D'Antoni is my number one. Number 2 and 3, I'm going to say they're almost interchangeable to me. Like, I would almost agree with you. Ty Lue might be 2. But, like, for me, a distant outside 3 that I think wouldn't be the worst choice. He'd be better than Van Gundy. He'd be better than, like, I'm looking at the list right in front of me of some articles. Yep. Mark Jackson, like those coaches that Jason Kidd you see thrown out there. He'd be better than those. Where Brett Brown, if it's like, we are giving it to Brett Brown, I would go Ty Lue before him, but I don't think he'd be the absolute worst. Here's the other question, Dave, on this. What's next for Doc Rivers? Because I've got the one team that is a slam dunk, should offer him the job immediately because of who they have. Or, you know what? I almost take it back. There's 2. There's 2 that I think of. And I'll ask you, who would be a better fit for Doc Rivers? The Houston Rockets, and the thing that I like there is Austin Rivers. He can reunite with his son.
He doesn't like his son.
He can then ask for his son to get traded. Or the one that I would choose, now that I remembered, oh shit, like they have an open vacancy.
The Pels?
Is he the Thunder? CP3? Go back, work with CP3? Or does Doc and CP not work, and that's why he got traded to Houston?
I don't know. They don't work. I just don't know.
Or do they not like each other? Is that another thing of like, I'm forgetting something of like, oh man, Doc didn't really like working with CP3.
If I recall, there's no bad blood there.
Okay.
I don't remember anything coming out. I think both guys respect the hell out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there'd be any issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm jumping on Doc Rivers. Mm-hmm. If I'm the Thunder, I want to go out and get somebody who could prove, like, hey, take this young roster and roll with it. Like, Doc, to me, again, maybe it's just whatever, but like, guy's got a reputation now for being shit in the playoffs. I don't know who's going to be like the next team to jump on that so quickly.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I think I don't know that I've seen a year with more attractive group of assistant coaches who might be ready to make the jump to head coach.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like there's like 4 or 5 of them this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that you don't want to pass up on to go with a guy who's like tried and true when you're in a position like the Thunder are, where you're like, we've got about 1 billion picks in the next 6 years. Mm-hmm. We've got so much young talent. We've got excellent veterans in the mix to keep the everything going the right direction as far as, hey, we're not in the shitter. We're not losing, 60 games, 70 games a year because we're an awful team with just, a bunch of 20-year-olds. They've just got the right way to build. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that you need to go get a head coach who has that like crazy reputation like Doc Rivers for being, in the league for the last 40 years. And like, I don't know that he's necessary. I think that like that's a team where I would love to see like a Becky go to, or a Wes Unseld, or a Dan Craig. Like, that would be the kind of deal that would work out really well for them.
And the one thing I'll throw in from chat, reason for you throwing out that he disagrees with me on the Clippers side. He says X's and O's won't be an issue for her when it comes to Becky Hammond with the Clippers. But like, for me with Doc Rivers, it comes to the point of like, Dave, you're right. In the playoffs, minus the Boston years, like with the Clippers, the memes going around now that Frank Vogel in 1 year has as many playoff series wins that Doc Rivers had for his entire career with the Clippers. And the thing I think about that is, number one, I feel like Doc Rivers would have a lot more playoff series wins if he had LeBron James on his team. That's why LeBron James is the best player in basketball. That's caveat one. Caveat two is most of the time, the Clippers, the Blake Griffin CP3 Clippers, A, had to deal with injuries. B, that was a team that I was never a fan of. Like, fan of to the point of they were never a team where it's like, yeah, that team's going to win the finals. That team is going to go far. Like, and like going back to point one, most of the times they did fail. It was, oh, CP3 got injured. Oh, Blake got injured. Somebody got injured to where like half the time it's like, is it kind of like Doc made some mistakes? He's not like flawless here. But like there were some situations with that CP3 Blake team where it's like if they could like stay healthy, might have been a different story. Oh wait, the Rockets know about that too when they had CP3. For me though, with Doc, it just comes down to you brought up the Pels, and you got me thinking in my head. Should it be a team that is more of a like the Pelicans would be a? We know we're not going to compete if we make the playoffs. But Doc Rivers might be able to be a coach to coach our guys into a playoff spot and then be a good coach to help them with that playoff experience. Or should it be a team like the Rockets, like the Thunder, like the 76ers, who are going to be in the playoffs that need a coach that's been there before?
Yeah, Jack Maloney of CBS reported Clippers fired Doc Rivers after 7 seasons. 76ers and Pelicans already reached out to the head coach.
Okay, so Sixers and Pelicans are among the first ones. You like the Pelicans over the Sixers there, obviously.
For Doc, yeah. I think Doc's a better fit on the Pels than the Sixers. I think the Sixers need a big old dynamic shift in that whole front office, locker room, team. Everything needs to change. Like they've got 2 fantastic pieces. They've got a bunch of interesting pieces outside of that, and then they got to figure out what direction they're going because they don't know. They just don't know. So I think that my situation right now is day one is Doc to the Pels. We're going with Dan Antoni to the 76ers. We're taking Ty Lue is just going to take the bump up to be the head coach of the Clippers. And I don't know for the other ones yet. I haven't decided for the other openings. I don't know who's going to land in Indy. Not quite sure yet.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like some of these assistant coaches are gonna have to be picked up by teams, right? Like even a coach we haven't mentioned is Alvin Gentry floating out there. Where like the whole reason the Pelicans one is open is because of him. Like would he fit with any of the teams? For Doc, the one that I think that if I had to put a prediction down today, I'm going to be maybe on the bold side. I'm going to say the Thunder. And the reason why I'm saying the Thunder is this. Him and CP3 have a familiarity with each other. And also, you have to think of the breakup with Billy Donovan and what we talked about when we mentioned him getting hired by the Bulls of, yes, I'm not in that front office, but if I'm reading the situation, how I'm reading it, I think this year influenced how Sam Presti and the front office viewed this team. Of like before it was like, hey, we're playing with house money. We got CP3. If we make the playoffs, great. If we don't, we still have a young roster that can do things. And then they make the playoffs this year. And they actually play, I know Russ was injured at the beginning, but they played well against the Rockets in that first round playoff series to the fact where I think the mindset might have changed in that front office of like, oh, we want to push for, like, we can push with this team. And maybe Billy Donovan was on the side. We mentioned it before of like, no, I'm kind of in a rebuilding situation. Like I'm like, this situation doesn't jive with me to where if this front office is like, no, we can push with the playoffs for this team, Doc Rivers could be a fit because of some of their personnel, like I said, CP3, and if they think he can actually win playoff series for them if he's hired.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one caveat, you know. It's what direction are they going to go in? I think that's why I like him on the Pelicans more.
Yeah.
Because they're a team that they're hungry. They're on the rise. They think they're a playoff team through and through. So you give him a chance to work with somebody who's basically been compared to a young Blake Griffin. Obviously, a bit different, than Blake, as we've seen.
What, do we see Lob City 2.0 between Lonzo and Zion?
I'm just saying, like, connect the fucking dots.
Yeah, it's not hard. You're putting the dots really close together, Dave.
You got Jackson Hayes, who's an athletic 5, who is a complete rim runner.
Yeah.
You got Zion Williamson, and you've got Lonzo Ball. You've got great shooters. You've got an amazing ISO artist in Brandon Ingram. Like, that team is primed to take the next step. I don't want to see them stuck in like the Suns' purgatory for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I think the doc would be excellent for the Pels. I think the model is not broken. I think he'd work on the Thunder. I just don't know that I would do that because of I'm just not of the opinion that that's a team that I still think they're going to ship people. I can't say that CP3 is going to finish his contract out with the Thunder.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, I'm not going to bring in. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. That's just
Dave's like, I don't know what's gonna happen there.
It ain't me. I'm just that's my opinion.
But Dave, let's move on. Second basketball topic we are talking about today: Victor Oladipo. There's some news from Bleacher Report that Vic could want out or does want out this offseason. The article comes from Rob Goldberg. At Bleacher Report, it says Victor Oladipo has 1 year remaining on his contract with the Indiana Pacers, but he is reportedly looking to move on this offseason, according to Jared Weiss of The Athletic. And the first team, we're going to talk about many trade possibilities here, but I've already got one mapped out for you, Dave. And this is not a final. This is not a final. This is a work in progress to see, did I put too much into this? Did I not put enough into this? Victor Oladipo to the Celtics for Gordon Hayward, who is from Indiana, would be closer to home, and all 3 of Boston's first-round picks this year. Or would it be just 2 of them? Because I thought about leaving the Milwaukee one out and just have it being the top 2, the Celtic pick and the Memphis pick. Is that too much? Should it be just 2 picks this year? Is that something the Celtics look for to kind of switch things up on a team that many thought would be in the finals right now?
I like where you're going with this. I do have a question for you because I don't have the contract out. What's Vic's contract situation? I know Gordon is
21 mil for Vic, 34.1 for Gordon Hayward, both on 1 year deals.
Okay,
because Gordon Hayward's a player option. He would have to accept his player option.
His stacks.
Yeah.
And Vic is on his final year, so he would need an extension.
Yeah.
Whew. But that would let them go with a starting lineup of like Kemba, Marcus, Jalen, Vic, Tatum. I'm sorry, not a finishing line.
Yeah.
That's a finishing lineup. It's just like Mike D'Antoni is like, get me to Boston right now.
Get me to Boston. Brad Stevens.
Kemba's a scumbag. Then after that, he would be great.
Who's Brad Stevens? Who is he?
Brad Stevens who? I mean, look, that is an intriguing deal. I think because they're both 1 year deals, I mean, how would that money work out? That's a 10 mil gap, right? Or
yeah, it's a 10 mil gap. Let me see. I closed it out, so I'm just gonna put I'm just gonna put those 2 guys in the trade.
Yeah, I mean, look,
draft picks.
I think that you definitely are risking because both of them have injury history. I think that yes, the younger player is worth more. I think Victor probably it would be the Memphis pick and maybe the Bucks pick. So you go or no, maybe Memphis,
Boston. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Memphis,
the top
Boston.
2. Like, and that to me is like the reason why this trade intrigues me for the Pacers is Gordon Hayward could be somebody to where you're still a good team. You could still be a good team this year. And let's say he does get injured or it doesn't work out. You're not locked down to him. To me, the big caveat here is I get the number 14th pick and I get Boston's pick. I get 2 picks out of this after losing my pick because the pick that they have is with Milwaukee right now. Yeah. So the Pacers don't even own their first round pick to where I'm in the sense of like the true prize of this is I'm getting draft picks.
Well, I mean, it's a good trial run for the team too, to find out if Gordon Hayward is a guy you would like to re-sign because let's be honest, like that team next year, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon, Obviously, we have question marks at the 2,
Mm-hmm.
but Lamb could be long term. We don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan. I think he's more of a bench player at this point in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Limited upside, but Gordon at the 3. You got T.J. Warren, the fucking fire starter from the bubble, out there, and you got Sabonis at the 5. Obviously, Miles Turner getting traded this offseason, so don't got to worry about that now.
Mm-hmm.
Or coming off the bench, whichever. Care.
Yeah.
I just think that that's still a good team in the East. Like that's still a team that goes up there. But yeah, the Miles Turner thing again. Let's start adding more pieces. This one, Ricky. Let's get boxy with it. Miles Turner and Victor Oladipo to Boston.
I thought about adding Turner to it. I just was like,
they'd have to go up what? The only other contract is Kemba.
let me see. Yeah, but I don't see Boston trading Kemba unless you feel like I'm getting Vic and they're gonna clash. Like you can't play Vic and
You
Kemba.
could run Vic as a point guard,
Mm-hmm.
which arguably is when he had a lot of success.
Gordon Hayward. Let's add Vic to this deal. Let's add Miles Turner to this deal. Right now, how the contracts would work is so 34.1 would be outgoing from Boston. Incoming, they would have 38.5. So only a $4 million difference to where
that's not bad. I like where you're going with that.
Even if they did that trade, that would work. They wouldn't technically have to add more to it to make the contracts work.
You just say the word switchable a lot because then you still have Marcus Smart, you still have Vic. Either one of those guys can run the 1. You got Jaylen Brown at the 2, Tay. You got Miles Turner, who is your perfect 5 out there, who can stretch the floor. Try to pretend that he can learn to pass and then be Al Horford out there. Maybe I don't know. That would be Langford. Langford would probably he's valuable to a lot of teams it seems. So then they might want.
So then are we thinking because what I'm thinking is like Oladipo, Turner for Hayward and picks. Like is that what we're thinking, or like do they say we don't want the picks, we want a guy like Langford, a guy who's already been in the league? Both?
They might want both.
Let me see how that works. I'm going to add Langford to the deal to see where the fuck is Langford. Come on. Williams, there's Langford.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is Boston really likes what Langford could be.
That works contractually. And then that way the Pacers are adding about 700,000 and the Celtics are only basically the Celtics are adding 700,000 of cap. The Pacers are losing 700,000 of cap.
Yep.
In that deal.
They don't want to give him up because they see him as a long-term defensive wing who could shoot mid-range. He's like scuffed DeMar DeRozan, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I know he didn't get much playing time this season. He was trying to develop his game in the G League because he needed it. He got playoff minutes though for that first series against Philly, which should tell you a lot. They did trust him, but yeah, he's a good defender. He's got good wingspan, decent in space. But yeah, basically he lives mid range. His shot's not developed quite yet from the outside. But yeah, defensive upside with an offensive game that's shitty DeMar DeRozan.
Do you want to get spicy, Dave?
I feel like this is spicy.
I've got one that's more spicier than this that I worked out today that works. I just don't know what the Pacers. The picks are different. The picks are better in a Boston trade. But Victor Oladipo to the Nuggets for Gary Harris, Ball, this year's first and a future first. Would that be something that intrigues the Pacers? Of I'm getting 2 picks, one this year, which is Houston's pick. Yes, it's low. I'm getting a potential, like all of the potential, which is Ball. The only thing is Gary Harris has 2 years left. He's not the player of Vic, but I'm also freeing up $2 million in cap space. And after, even if Gary Harris doesn't work, so he's here for 2 seasons and then he's gone. If we even decide to move him in his contract year, if we want to.
I don't think Bol has that high of a value league wide.
Okay. Or is that just a Mike Malone and the Nuggets thing? Is they're high on him, the rest of the league is not?
I think that r/NBA is high on him. I think that Mike Malone sees him as a potential offensive weapon in the future, but I don't know many teams who would know how to use him on the floor effectively. So I think that he's going to probably stay with the Nuggets. Gary Harris is an interesting guy because he's transformed from a good shooter and a good defender to a subpar shooter and a above average defender. So
what else then
like
would the Nuggets have to add? Because like that's a team I thought of like if they added Vic to that team, because like Gary Harris, maybe it's just me reacting to Gary Harris having a poor postseason this year. I believe he was coming off of injury into the postseason, but had a poor showing in the postseason. And it's one of those things like we've always talked about with Jamal Murray of like, can he play with the ball in his hands? Yeah. But like having a point guard like Vic where Vic can be the main ball handler and then Jamal can just go back to being the fucking blue arrow like he was in fucking Kentucky. Like, that's something that I look at the Nuggets, I look at what they did this year, and I go, you add Victor Oladipo, that gives you more of a firepower to compete with these teams in the West when you get to the playoffs, because you already competed with them this year.
Counterpoint, Michael Porter Jr. Do you need Victor Oladipo? Because Gary Harris, I don't think he had a poor performance in the playoffs. I think that his role has changed to become that defender rather than the offensive threat. And then the Denver style of offense doesn't rely on him to be a scorer. Like we joked about it. We're like, man, do they have anything other than that 1-5 pick and roll?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, but that's okay. Like the big question will be, how do they evolve to better include Michael Porter Jr. into that offense, include some other pieces, because crunch time, it seemed like they had one play and one play only. The idea of adding Vic, I can't disagree. Like, Vic is a straight upgrade over Gary Harris, but Gary Harris plus Bol plus pick, I don't know. To me, it's sketch, because like then it adds a third big that the fucking Pacers don't know what to do with.
Well, I mean, even like if you take Bol off of the deal, like is there anything else the Pacers not necessarily would want? Like obviously they want MPJ, but they ain't getting MPJ. Like, do you add a Will Barton who's got 2 years left? Do the Pacers even want a Will Barton?
Sexy. That's the problem.
You're not moving on from Jeremy Grant if you're the Nuggets. You're keeping on to him. Of course, he's got a player op this year for 9.3.
Nice, but not special. Yeah, that's the problem. Is they just don't have like anybody who has that something could be there. Like Jeremy Grant, I think is the only guy. Like, because of his contract, like he can re-sign, take $9 million, or he can go sign a contract and get like 15 to 17. I'm guessing.
Or he can just do the thing of, I know this would be the same thing as the second option, but hey, I'm going to decline the player op, but hey, I still want to re-sign with the Nuggets.
He has to get the money. It's just, I think that his value around the league is skyrocketed. So he might do maybe a sign-in trade where he could go play, Yeah, well, I wouldn't do that if I were Jeremy Grant.
Who's a team that we haven't mentioned that you might think of being like a team? Because like people throw out the Bucks, they're throwing out the Knicks, they're throwing out the 76ers. Who's a team you've thought of like they should trade for Vic?
A team that should trade for Vic. There's a lot of teams that could trade for Vic. Am I crazy to say that he should go back to Orlando?
No. Not at all. There are people saying that the Hornets should. I think it was Malik Monk and it was like Morris it was Scary Terry and Malik Monk were the two that it was basically a trade involving them two for Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be bad. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of teams that could use someone with his talent. It's just like who's going to give up something for a 1-year rental, perhaps, of Victor Oladipo, who's coming off of, again, a bad injury. So it's like Detroit absolutely would love to have him. Cleveland, of course, let's add more add more guards to Cleveland. The Bulls, absolutely, let's go for it. But yeah, as far as teams who would actually pull the trigger on it, like, I wonder.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at a team like the Blazers, and I'm like, do you think they're just gonna run it back, or do you think they would shake shit up? Do you
Basically, a
think they would
CJ
move
for Vic
CJ?
deal. Yeah, I
Do
knew
you
there.
think
I
they
knew
would
where this
move
was going.
CJ and get Vic and something else? You know?
Do you think? I'll ask you this: do you think Vic and Dame work together?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just
I mean,
asking.
the problem is that CJ's got the rapport. CJ's
Yep,
got
that's what I was saying. They already know Dame and CJ work.
you know, but they work until they don't. Victor Oladipo adds a level of defense, a level of a new angle on that offense, where Dame and CJ both good outside shooters. CJ decent slasher. Vic is just an excellent slasher. He is next level athletic, attacking the rim. I think that one would be intriguing to me because that would be a big shakeup for both franchises. I think that obviously they're not valued straight 1-to-1, but I think that could make the Blazers a better team.
Mm-hmm.
Would I want TJ Horn or Jeremy Lamb? Maybe I would.
I mean, that's the thing. Where like, I feel
the Blazers, like Carmelo was a great player for the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Might be back next year even, but like you still, Rodney Hood coming back from a bad injury. Don't know what that's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
You walked your way into Gary Trent Jr. being an absolute stud out there. But again, I feel like the bubble play is just like all of it's going to go down in my mind as this was awesome basketball. I don't know if they can live up to what they did in that special time, in that special moment, you know?
You're talking about the Blazers, like their hot run that they had in the bubble. Yeah.
Like a lot of the players, not just the Blazers, a lot of the players who
like the Nuggets too. The Nuggets, like their 3-1s. Like, and the thing
Jay Warren's not going to shoot 80% from the field,
Yeah. I mean,
that's shit like that.
Comfortability. You're basically, like you mentioned, there's no travel. You're waking up from the hotel. You're going straight to the game. There's a sense of like comfortability. There's a sense of, I think the neutral site part. There's a lot of factors that play into why it's favorable for many players. But like with this trade, I think the Celtics are, this is not crazy to think of. The Celtics have the best offer. Like just because of the picks alone that they could offer the Pacers. Who?
If you were the Warriors, would you rather have Wiggins or Oladipo?
I'd rather have Oladipo. Is that something that you would like? If you're the Warriors, the value of Wiggins and number 2 overall, or is that a Miles Turner and Vic for Wiggins and the 2? Maybe the Warriors think, hey, maybe we can get the most out of Wiggins, adds a big to our rotation.
The money absolutely does not work out for that.
I'm gonna try it. Let's see. Because
if you could put Miles Turner and Vic on the Warriors for Wiggins in the number 2 and whatever they have on their bench, then I would absolutely do that shit. Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, because so the money, let's see, we would have to add $1.4 million to the trade. So the Warriors would have to give up, or the Pacers would have to soak up like a Kai Bowman at 1.5, a Marquise Chris, a Damon Lee, a Allen Samalchik. He ain't getting moved. The Warriors really like him. Yeah. But like, I'm thinking maybe like and I'll ask you which one. Eric Pascal, Kai Bowman, Damon Lee, Marquise Chris. Who would you add out of those? I
would keep Pascal if I'm the Warriors, if I had a choice in this matter. Yeah. I would give up Kai Bowman. I'd give up Damian Lee. I don't care. Either one of those guys. They both did their job for this year. I don't care about either one of them going forward.
Yeah, that trade would work perfectly. Wiggins, Lee, the 2nd overall pick, Victor Oladipo, Miles Turner.
Maybe a future pick if they can get Oladipo to sign an extension.
Yeah. I mean,
that would be disgusting.
Then they would have Vic locked down. Miles Turner's locked down for 3 years still at $17.5 million. Yep. Gives them versatility. Like, shit, why didn't
Rick? You proud of that?
Like, I would be like, and then the Pacers at number 2. I'll ask you, who do the Pacers take it to? I mean, we're going to talk in this week, the rumors about now that LaMelo Ball could be number 1. We'll talk about that later this week, but like, if you're the Pacers, if that trade went through, who are you hoping for at number 2? Who's the perfect fit?
I mean, you know my thoughts on Anthony Edwards, so like it's not Anthony Edwards.
Is it James Wiseman? Because they're giving up Miles Turner, but they got Sabonis.
They have Sabonis.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They have Sabonis, like that. That's there. Is it Denny Abdia? Is it fuck it? And please, T-Wolves, don't take LaMelo Ball because we're gonna take him at 2.
It could be that. Could be Denny. It could be any number of players. That's the thing. Like, maybe they really like Anthony Edwards. I don't fucking know. Like, I wouldn't go that direction, but that's not saying they shouldn't. I think the Warriors, if they can get Oladipo to sign that long-term extension, would give up maybe one of their future firsts as well. And I think that makes it a realistic deal. I think the number 2, a future first, having Wiggins, Damian Lee, or Victor Oladipo, and Miles Turner.
I didn't even think about that. Like the one.
Yes.
I've got 2 thoughts running through my head. Number 1, if a Warrior Pacer trade goes through, the only way.
No, we can't allow this shit.
No. The only way it's going through is kind of like how the what was it? The K-Love trade went through with the Cavs, where the only way the Pacers are making it, in my mind, is if like LaMelo Ball's there at 2. So it'd be like a LaMelo gets drafted to the Warriors. He's on the Warriors, but then after the draft, when everything's set up, okay, we're going to make this trade. And these are the pieces moving on.
They could get the 2 and then take the 2 and trade back to like 4 plus something to get, more picks. They could do it like New Orleans did,
I guess you're right. I mean,
whoever did that shit.
Yeah, it was the Pelicans moved up. They moved up for Jackson Hayes, I think. Or did they? No, they were basically somebody was trading, either the Pelicans or the Hawks. I can't remember off the top of my head. I just wonder with the whole deadline of this season, will the NBA allow, like, are they going to allow player trades at the draft this year because the financials for next year are not, you know what I'm saying?
They will be set by the draft. That was the whole point.
Will they? Okay.
So they can figure it out.
Didn't read into that part. I just knew that the draft is November 18th.
They had to keep pushing the draft because they couldn't figure out what the cap would be for this upcoming season until they got to negotiations with television companies for those contracts. They couldn't figure out what the player salary rates would be. Yeah.
So overall, my thought process, the Warriors would actually break it. That would probably be the best value.
Break the NBA.
To me, there's no other team then that can give a better package to that than like the second place would be the Celtics. And the problem is the third best package would be like if the Knicks wanted Victor Oladipo, just because they have young players. They have the 8th overall pick in this draft, and it's really like I see teams like the Bucks, I see teams like the 76ers being thrown out there, and it's like they just don't have enough of what the Pacers want.
What about the Grizz?
What would be the trade offer? What would you look for as that's the thing. What would the Pacers want from the Grizzlies?
I'd have to figure that part out. I'm just imagining Ja Morant and Victor Oladipo in my backcourt.
It would be nice. It would be nice.
You're at the 4.
What are they giving? Because player-wise, what do you want? Justice Winslow if you're the Pacers?
Justice. I mean, he's very good if he's healthy.
Because Ja's untouchable, Triple J's untouchable.
Jandon Jark.
Yeah. Do they flip Jandon Jark, or is he an untouchable?
That's a problem. I don't know. I love everyone on Memphis, so I can't recommend trading anyone on that team. Yeah. But at the same time, if you can get a Victor Oladipo to play alongside John Morant, that team is special. Yeah. They're already special. That would be how to fucking catapult your team into the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. For sure. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Dave, let's end the show. It's going to be a longer ending. First, we'll do a segment we love to do here on MVP Sports Live. These are the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, the moistest of men, and sometimes the mistiest of misses. These are our Wet Boys. Every single day, Monday through Friday, we give a player of the day from the day before. Dave gives a Wet Boy, I give a Wet Boy, and the patrons at patreon.com/MVPvids, silver and above, give their own Wet Boy as well. Dave, for today, there's a special caveat because I'll be honest, I didn't get a Wet Boy from you. I didn't expect a Wet Boy from you because you said yesterday you're not going to pick a Wet Boy unless there's basketball games, which not getting into, but that's just how it is. So today I'm going to be nice and share my Wet Boy with Dave. And it's not really a player, but it's from news that was coming out today. I'm giving my Wet Boy to Mark Cuban. Just because of everything, like the story behind him and the Delonte West kind of happenings where, like I read a tweet today where Mark Cuban was in contact with Delonte's mother and was like, hey, anything I can do to help, let me know. And it was simple. Find my son. And he went, found him, picked him up at a gas station in Dallas. And now there are tweets saying that Delonte West has done something that his family has hoped he would do for a long time, has agreed to go to rehab. So just a kind of a great feel-good story. Delonte, who we've seen the stories about, like, it's like, holy shit, NBA star Delonte West is homeless. Just being able to get the help he needs, somebody reaching out their hand, Mark Cuban, to say, hey, I'm going to help in this situation. Just generally a good guy in this situation, Dave. Mark Cuban.
Credit to him. I think that anything you can do to help a former member of the association is wonderful. I wish that the best for Delonte and he gets the help he needs to get back to a good place in his life. I mean, his story is really sad, but it's just people sometimes don't take the fame, the money, and know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I'll never forget the Delonte West chants though. That's the problem. Like, that's the Delonte West shit and LeBron's like all that. Nah, that seems like another life now.
Mm-hmm. No, it is, and it's just like you said. It's nice to, hey, I'm gonna reach out to a former person from the association and get them some help. Dave, the patron Wet Boy, they're going NFL today, and they're going. If you look at the card here, Dave, I did something tricky with the name. It's not Pat Mahomes, Dave. It's Patrick Mahomes. Mama Mahomes not liking that the announcers are calling him Pat Mahomes. We're not going to make that mistake, Mrs. Mahomes. We will call him Patrick Mahomes. Had himself a game in a win over the Ravens.
Now, are those numbers correct as far as his touchdowns? Because I think he rushed for
4. Oh, 4 passing. You're right. He had some on the ground. I put the passing touchdowns in there. That's a me thing. That's a me thing.
He
shit happens. Shit happens, Dave. Yeah, shit happens. This was a game that we knew was going to be like, no matter who wins, both teams are still good. I thought it would be a little bit closer than it was, and I expected the Ravens to come out on top with that defense.
Yeah.
Should be 5 touchdowns. I'm sorry, should be 5.
Happy Casey won it. Happy Mahomes looked great again. Everybody was like, oh man, how'd they look so bad against that Chargers team? Well, Chargers had a hell of a pass rush. Mm-hmm. So, and they controlled the ball on the ground for quite a bit of time. So,
I mean, Lamar Jackson, 83 yards on the ground, but only 97 yards through the air.
Yeah, I feel like he is benefiting the most from the Titans getting COVID because that took the top story. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that the national media for like all the talking heads and shit would be shitting on Lamar Jackson as their opening story had the NFL not had a COVID outbreak.
Yeah. The only thing I saw on Twitter that I was like, I did the Stephen A. Stop it, Skip. Was people were tweeting out, don't be telling me Lamar Jackson is the Giannis Antetokounmpo of the NFL. And it's like, stop it. It's a regular season game. Let's wait till the playoffs, and let's see if he crumbles in the playoffs.
Mahomes has a number. It's just the Chiefs make the Ravens look bad. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, I mean, last year,
the word kryptonite. He literally was quoted saying the word kryptonite. Yeah.
Last year, it wasn't even the Chiefs that got him in the playoffs. It was the Tannehills that got him in the playoffs last year. Like, Derrick Henry completely ran all over them. last year. So like it wasn't even the Chiefs that knocked him out last year.
I don't think he's beaten the Chiefs.
No, he hasn't. Like this is now 2-0 to Patrick Mahomes.
0-2 to Patrick.
Yeah, no, 2-0 to Pat. Like Patrick Mahomes is 2-0. That's what
we're
I'm saying.
talking about.
But I the way I was thinking of is Patty Mahomes is 2-0, Lamar Jackson is 0-2.
Yeah, that is correct.
The way I phrased it was not right, but Patrick Mahomes is 2-0. That's what I'm saying.
Conversation was
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Patrick Mahomes 2-0. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
There we go.
Can't tell me I'm wrong, Dave. But yeah, we are going to end the show today, Dave, with a little bit of fantasy football talk. We were going to do it yesterday, but yesterday LeBron and MJ discussion went a wee bit long. So basically how we're doing fantasy football this week is we've got one question. We'll get to that to the end. We're doing pretty much contenders and pretenders, Dave. These are guys where basically we're going to go down the list. We're going to, hey, this is what they've done. Is this going to be a guy that people should look at to be someone, to be something the rest of this year? The first one on the list, Dave, he is a guy that had 10.6 week one. The last 2 weeks has had about 14 points in fantasy leagues, has yet to get a touchdown. Myles Gaskin being the lead back for the Dolphins. What do you think? Contender rest of the year or a pretender when it comes to fantasy?
He's a solid RB2. I'd go contender for him. I like what he is. I wish that Jordan Howard didn't snipe that. He just absolutely yeeted that touchdown out of his hands. It was just frustrating. But yeah, Myles Gaskin, legit. And I think we actually recommended him to STL fans a couple weeks ago or a week ago.
Yeah, that was one against Jacksonville I liked. The Thursday night game. I thought he'd have a good one. Against Jacksonville. He is also a guy, though, that I feel like he's a solid RB2. You're right there. Mainly just because of the fact that, like what people are saying, he is the starter for the Dolphins. He has pretty much taken that job.
Considering Howard and Breida are there. Like, I did not see him as the standout name, but
yeah, I mean, love to see it because I remember he played fucking really good ball at Washington. He was the main back for the Washington Huskies when they dumpstered my Illini at Soldier Field. I still have nightmares, Dave, of that game and him running all over us. But yeah, like looking at I had to switch to my tablet because NFL, the website version, it doesn't show the rankings. The only thing that's a question with him is the next 4 weeks might get a little dicey, only because the Seahawks, they're the third toughest against running backs. 49ers are number one against running backs. Denver is seventh against running backs, and Chargers are fifth against running backs. So like fantasy-wise, the next 4 weeks could be hit or miss, but like after that, you have the Jets twice, you have the Bengals later on, you have the Raiders who are favorable.
I think you roll with him as a RB2 flex. Then that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
but still,
the thing with him is the time of the playoffs, fantasy playoffs, Jets, Bengals, and then the Chiefs. So like the Chiefs might be are the toughest of the three, but yeah, the Jets and the Bengals giving up pretty big points too. The running back position, Dave, the next guy is pretty much a next man up situation when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks. So Chris Carson gets injured in the Sunday Night Football game. Carlos Hyde's there next up. He has not cracked double digits in the game against Dallas. He had 4 attempts, 12 yards. Is he someone that fans should look to be now, hey, he's going to get most of the carries, he's going to get fantasy points, or is this something of, I don't know if Carlos Hyde is someone I would pick up?
Chris Carson will be back. I'm passing Carlos.
So you're saying pretender for this one? Do we know how many weeks for sure Chris Carson's going to be out?
Okay. No, but they said it's not as bad as they thought it would be. Back to the tweet. Dun, dun, dun. Chris looked really good this morning after the MRI only revealed a mild sprain. So Seattle will likely start Hyde against Miami if Carson can't go. So they're saying he's potentially playing this Sunday.
Yeah, and even without that news, I was going to say Pretender only on one thing and one thing alone. I think Carlos Hyde, even, let's say Carson doesn't go this week. Let's say it's a Devontae Adams situation, and it's like game time decision. He's not ready to go. I think Carlos Hyde's very touchdown dependent. The game that he had his most points in, he had a touchdown, which helped him get to that 8 points. And I feel like this Seahawk team is running through Russell Wilson to where most of their touchdowns are going to come through passing touchdowns.
They come from ball.
To either Lockett or Metcalf. So like that's why I would Pretender stay away from Carlos Hyde. Agreed. Dave, there's a theme here. Most of these are wide receivers and most of these are running backs. Another running back on the list, Jeff Wilson, who in replacing Raheem Mostert, 21 points in NFL leagues against the Giants. Contender, pretender when it comes to Jeff Wilson and the 49ers.
Who's the other back they have that's healthy?
Looking it up now.
I can't think of his name. He's been hurt the last 2 years, but he's healthy this year.
Not Tevin Coleman.
Nope.
Tevin Coleman, I think, is injured right now. Raheem, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, I would say Jeff Wilson Jr., pretender. I would go McKinnon. I like McKinnon more. If you're picking a guy out of that backfield, I know Wilson got 2 touchdowns last week, but I think that McKinnon looks like the better back to me.
Yeah, and the thing with Jeff Wilson, I want to look up McKinnon's stats really quick from this last week's game, is the value when it comes to running backs for me out of this this 49er offense come from the passing plays. Like Raheem Mostert.
He only had 3 catches then.
Yeah, but he's still got a touchdown from the receiving side. The other touchdown was a rushing one. But for me, it's just I look at it and I go, okay, if you have even with McKinnon out there, if Wilson is going to be the one getting most of those receptions out there, I almost want to sway contender here just because of how that offense works. And the only thing that would make him a pretender in my mind is Raheem Mostert being healthy, which this is another week. Raheem Mostert questionable. We'll see later in the week if that changes to doubtful, if it changes to out, or if it changes to probable or fully healthy.
I'm just saying 3 weeks, three touchdowns for McKinnon, you know?
Yeah. I mean, McKinnon's not a bad choice. And that could be one where I think the 49ers are one of the only teams where basically the committee of running backs is not going to hurt you.
Not too bad.
I don't know if Jeff Wilson has 21 points. Don't put it that way. But I don't think it'll be something where it's like, wow, he just got straight dumpstered and doesn't even do anything. The next name, Dave, this is one could play this week, could not play this week. We don't know about this game. I hope he does well. I hope this wasn't just a flash in the pan. Justin Jefferson, Vikings wide receiver.
Do you trust his quarterback? That's all you have to say.
Nope, I don't.
And you don't go with him. I feel like this year there's a lot of good wide receivers available in most leagues. If you are at that point of desperation where you're looking for a boom or bust kind of player, I guess Justin Jefferson's your kind of guy. Because Adam Thielen's the engine that moves this offense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dalvin Cook's the engine that moves this offense.
Hell yeah.
Adam Thielen is that little special on top, but Justin Jefferson definitely benefited from having every time safety help was going the other direction.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's gonna get some catches, but I don't expect him to be a weekly 100+ yard kind of guy.
So
that offense is not made for that.
You look at the first 2 weeks, 3 targets in both games. So he didn't have a lot of targets. Then that jumped tremendously in week 3. He got 9 targets. It could have been what you said. Safety moves over. I'm going to throw, maybe Kurtz learned something and said, oh shit, the film is telling me that Jefferson is open.
He's got more snaps. Early game 1 and game 2, he was on limited snaps because they're going with, and I can never remember this dude's name. There's another wide receiver there with a ridiculous name.
Was it Tajay Sharp?
Nope. Who's your number 2, number 3 receivers' names? Because I can't think of it. I am the worst person to have on for a segment like this.
We know you're like, but this is names in general, Dave. Like names have never been. Johnson, Alabisi, Alabisi Johnson.
I was like, there's a name that you're gonna struggle to pronounce, and I can't remember.
I think it's Olabisi.
He looked good coming out of camp, so he got more snaps than Jefferson early in the season. But I think Jefferson just needs. He's learning the system as he goes, kind of thing. So I do expect his role to expand. I just don't think that he'll get 200 yards a week. Yeah,
and here's the thing with me. This is one of like, I'm not going to say contender, but I'm not going to say pretender. This is a right down the middle of push for me because I think there's a part of it with that. Also, there's a part of like when Jefferson was getting snaps. Like I had mentioned it before, like I think it was after week 2, where it's like the film of like, Thielen's covered over here. Rudolph's covered over the middle. Oh, there's Justin Jefferson. He's wide open and beat his defender. And I could just loft it up to him. Nope, gonna go to Thielen. Like that that was what Kurt was doing to where like I hope that Jefferson gets more opportunities because he can do things. What I would do is if you need a wide receiver, and maybe you've got Julio Jones that's on the mend. Maybe you've got Devonta Adams, Mike Thomas, any of these wide receivers. Or you just need someone for a flex. What I would do if he's available, if Jefferson's available, which he is only owned in 17% of leagues on NFL, I would go ahead, pick him up this week. I wouldn't play him against Houston. I would, if the game happens, I would see how he does. Like, because this is a situation of, you don't want to be
like secondary though.
Yeah, but I don't want to take the chance. I wouldn't want to take the chance of getting burned, of saying like, I thought you were going to have a lot of points, but then you went back to getting 7 points like he had against Indy, his other great game. So what I would do, pick him up this week, see how he does against Houston. Then the next 2 matchups he has is the Seattle Seahawks, which they give up the most points to wide receivers. They're a good team. They win games, but they give up points to wide receivers. And then the Atlanta Falcons, who give up the 3rd most points to wide receivers. So, like, this matchup, like, if you have to start him, you can. But if you can afford to, like, see how he does this week to see if the trend is still, like, going upward, the Seahawks and Atlanta matchups, he can blow up in those games. Because even with the Seahawks, like, are the Vikings going to win it? Probably not. But if Kurt plays well enough, it could be a shootout between him and Russ. And then that means more opportunities for Jefferson to maybe get some touchdowns in that game. Dave, the next name, we're going to Tennessee, the big hot team today in the NFL because of, like we mentioned, the news at the top of the show. This is a guy from the Chicagoland area, went to Western Michigan, Dave. He's a guy who, I'm telling you right now, contender for me. Pick him up. He's owned in just over half of leagues, so he might not be there, but if he is there, pick him up. He's got 17, 12, 11 was his worst performance this week, but I think against Pittsburgh and Buffalo coming up the next 2 weeks could have good games. Corey Davis, contender for me. What do you think? C or P?
I'll go contender. He's a good player. We knew he was a good player. It's just where the target's going to come from. I'll roll with you. So that one's simple to me.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing really to think about there. It's more of like a, where do you go? Because like Robbie Anderson, I'll be honest, I'm dropping him in one of my leagues because it's one of those where it's like, oh, maybe I expected too much out of you. And I think that Corey Davis is going to be one that, hey, you can rely on, especially even if it's the next 2 weeks and then, hey, he doesn't do well, you got to jump him, move on, play that waiver wire game. The other name, Dave, wide receiver, the rest of them I think are wide receivers until the very end. T. Higgins. He had 21 points against Philly. Yes, it was Philly. Let's put that out there. They are a bad football team.
Yep.
Tyler Boyd also had 20 points in the game. The next 3 matchups for the Bengals are Jacksonville, who are 9th against receivers, Baltimore, who's 16th, and Indy, which is 3. Should people look at T. Higgins to be somebody to look at?
Yeah, I mean, I love this kid in college, and if they're going to let Joe Burrows throw the ball around there about 50, 60 times a game, they're playing from behind. That's what they can do. I've got no problem with that. Absolutely no problem going that direction.
So where I sit with this is he is owned in 1% of leagues, okay?
Yeah.
I don't.
He's a wide receiver 3 on that team,
Yeah,
but
I don't see a lot of people having a gold rush for him. Like, I don't see him jumping in like leagues this year.
Green gets hurt.
Yeah, but like,
I'm just saying that to be an asshole. I know, but
no. Like, you're right though. Like, AJ Green's health plays into it. Like, I almost want to say, wait and see how he does against Jacksonville before you put a waiver. What I feel like, if you have the luxury where you're like, well, fuck it, I've got the open slot, then pick him up now, stash him. But if you're a team where you're like, well, I can pick him up and stash him, but I really don't want to have to drop one of my players right now because I could still use them, and I don't know how he's going to do against Jacksonville, I'm almost on the mindset of, don't pick him up this week. Wait how he sees and how he does against Jacksonville, and if you see a positive trend, then go ahead and pick him up. Like, give him another week because,
that's fair.
The main thing is the matchups he has coming up. Like, Jacksonville has been a good defense this year, especially against wide receivers in fantasy. Baltimore's a good defense. They just got lit up by Patty Mahomes. Fucking Joe Burrows is good, but he's no Patty Mahomes yet. And then the Colts, they look to be getting hot at the right time. I know they just played the Jets and the Vikings, two really bad teams record-wise. The Jets are just deplorably bad at this point, to where I would give it one more week. So I'm going to say pretender for now, but a possibility of being a contender for T. Higgins. The next one, Dave, Green Bay wide receiver, Allen Lazard, had a big game this week. Is there a possibility that if Devonta Adams misses another week, he's a contender? Or was this just nope, it was lucky crapshoot, like could have been MVS, could have been anyone else. It just happened to be Lazard. Don't go with him.
No, I think Lazard is the clear number 2 on that team. Okay. Even when Devontae comes back, he is the guy I would stick with. I think he is an absolute contender. He's good. He's not the first round pick that we all wanted the Packers to go with for a wide receiver. Yeah. They went the Jordan Love route. That's okay. Aaron Rodgers just playing full of spite. And apparently he believes in aliens. That's a weird thing today.
What, he believes in aliens?
We talked about aliens.
On the Pat McAfee show?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers 2 days, he talked about aliens.
I mean, hey, cool. Trump's the one thing I hear is, man, good thing about Trump is he's trying to let everyone know that aliens exist and the government knows about aliens and that we should know about aliens. That's
fine and all. I just, I don't expect my quarterback to have alien conspiracy theories. It doesn't hurt or help him. Yeah. It was just unexpected.
You want to leave those to Dan Aykroyd, right? Leave those to Dan Aykroyd on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I feel like I've gotten to know Aaron Rodgers so much over the last 3 weeks. He's really pulled back the veil. He's an every man's man.
Has he been on after every single NFL week?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's there every single Tuesday for the entire NFL season. He loves it. Shit. It's hilarious. I recommend anybody. If you got 15 minutes to kill, go watch that shit. Because that's just weird.
Here's my question. Yep. Do you think he has to okay that with the Packers brass since it's in season?
I'm sure.
Okay.
He already got in trouble on the show. I mean,
did he?
So the whole thing was he was drinking some purple drink on the sideline, and obviously McAfee caught on to it and was like, "Oh, a lot of people are writing me about this there, and I got to ask, it's that purple stuff." And he kind of was like, "I'm pretty sure it's not Gatorade in that cup," and he's like, "No, it's Pedialyte," and he's like, "Oh, isn't that a problem? Isn't that gonna be a problem? Because there's Gatorade sponsorship with the NFL." And he's like, "Nah, it's Pedialyte. That's my go-to drink on the sidelines." The next week, Gatorade cup, still purple stuff, but he's got to have it in a Gatorade cup,
so no one can see what color it is.
The logo has to be there. Oh, they saw the color. They specifically showed it. And he came out and said it. He's like, whatever. What you gonna do? It's like, find me.
I'm Aaron Rodgers. What are they gonna do?
He kept saying, he's like, I'm still going to keep drinking Pedialyte on the sidelines. Like, they're not changing that. So now they're trying to be like, yeah, maybe we get a Pedialyte sponsorship on the McAfee show for Rogers Tuesdays.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's a character, man, I tell you.
I love it. But yeah,
Lazard, I'm all in on him.
With Lazard, it's...
I like Lazard better. I said 2 weeks ago. I say it today. I'll say it for the rest of the year. He's the better receiver.
I don't want this to be the We Agree podcast, Dave, but I gotta say fucking contender. The only reason why is with Devonta Adams out, he had a big week. Apparently, the Saints defense was supposed to be good against wide receivers, but Aaron Rodgers says, "Fuck it, that don't matter to us." He's someone that's going up against Atlanta this next week. Aaron Rodgers should toast the Atlanta Falcons. Or
that game's bet the over. I don't know what it is.
The roasted chickens.
Bet the over.
All right, we're going to do, before we move on to the next one, we're going to look up the over right now. The early over before we get into Football Friday.
Yeah.
Also, some live MLB scores that are popping up on my screen. Tampa won 3-1. Sox won 4-1. So did Houston. Houston beat the Twins. And the Yankees are up 3-1. Let's see. Where's the open line for that Falcons-Packers game? Where is it? Shit, that's a Monday night game. They're getting back-to-back primetime games, the Packers are. I mean, I know they're good. The over right now, Dave, is 57.5.
Bet the over.
So that would mean, let's say the Falcons, Falcons in their 3 games this year.
That's like a 32-25 game, you know.
I mean, 25, 39, 26. And the Packers have given up 34, 21, 30. So what, we thinking like a 35-28 game? Like, is it that seems close to me. Like, maybe this could be a game that Aaron Rodgers, what, you think more? Like 42-38?
Yeah.
52-42?
Aaron Rodgers can score.
Matt Ryan can score.
Football.
Jeez. Fucking, what if it's like Lazard with 3 touchdowns, Gage with 3 touchdowns?
Gage is in the concussion protocol, so we don't know yet.
Good point.
And I do expect them to have back Julio. So
I didn't hear what you said. My thing got unplugged.
Julio will be back though, right?
Okay, that's what I thought you were gonna say. But my
Gage question mark concussion protocol. Julio will be there though,
I don't
likely.
know what to expect from Julio, man.
I'm fuck ton of points. Fuck ton of points. That's all I expect out of that game.
The next guy, Dave, he is owned in 0.2, less than 1% of NFL leagues.
Yeah.
Greg Ward had 20 points against the Bengals. Is this another T. Higgins thing where it's like, maybe it was just that Bengals-Eagles game where wide receivers got some points? Because coming up next, he's got the 49ers, the Steelers, the Ravens. But Greg Ward is also a Philadelphia Eagle, so keep that in mind.
Pretender, I'm staying clear of the Eagles. They're a train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, I almost like... I'm my
Nick
ESPN league...
Philly right now if they still had him.
Yeah. My ESPN league that I drafted Zach Ertz is like my main tight end. I'm dropping him this week, by the way.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that's like, oh, someone else could pick him up. And I said, good. Someone pick him up because like, I agree with you, Dave. Avoid all Eagles. Like maybe Miles Sanders is the only Eagle I start.
Is the only Eagle.
And like
even he is questionable.
And like even at that, yeah, I look at it.
Is he a RB2? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean maybe a flex even. Like because if he's not gonna get many touchdowns, he's gonna get like 80 yards in a game. What? That's 8 points without the tutties. Like I don't know. 49ers guy, we've got 4. We'll do 3 more. We'll cut the last one. We don't need the tight end. I was going to say pretender for Dalton Schultz anyways. Brandon Ayuk, the 49er wide receiver owned in just under 4% of leagues. He's another one. Only 4 points. Boom. Big like Jefferson, Higgins, Ward, Brandon out there in the 49ers. Now, he does have some favorable games coming up. Eagles are next. Maybe just pick him up for that fact alone. He's going to have the Patriots week 7, the Seahawks week 8. Are you buying in on another 49er wide receiver, Dave? Or are you just like, let's wait and see? Like, was this a fluke week 3?
Debo about to be back week 5. Don't touch Brandon Ayuk. He is not worth it unless you're desperate for a 1-week wonder potentially. week 5 Debo's back. He'll be the main guy. He should be practicing actually tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll see how he looks. I'm excited for Deebo Samuel's return. I've got him on my bench in the IR slot. Feeling good about that. Think he's going to be great.
Yeah.
Like the 49ers, I just,
and
I wouldn't do it.
You don't even need to pick him up now. He's owned in like less leagues where even if Debo, like knock on wood, he goes, but let's say he doesn't go for some odd reason, like
he'll still roster.
He'll still be there.
Of league.
Yeah, he'll still be there.
So yeah, he'll still be there.
The last two, Dave, these are guys that are becoming more established ones already, kind of. Jared Goff, like he's a guy that only 10 points week 1, but has had over 20 points the last few weeks. However, his next 4 has 3 matchups that are unfavorable to quarterbacks in fantasy. Giants week 4, 49ers week 6, Bears week 3, contender, pretender for Jared Goff.
I'm going to go pretender for Goff. I think there's better quarterbacks out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's had a couple good performances, but I'm not in on him.
So I'm going to say
if you're in a 12-team league or above.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say
the line. 12-team league. I don't know if there's 12 better scoring quarterbacks for fantasy.
Yeah, I'm going to say pretender with a shade of contender, or pretender with a shade of contender. Like if, let's say you have Carson Wentz and Goff is available, or if you have, even if you have like Drew Brees, you're like, I don't really know if I'm going to be like Sam was talking this week about like, hey, maybe I start benching Drew Brees this season because he hasn't been the quarterback that we all expected him to be. I'm just throwing out situations.
300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks.
I'm just throwing out situations of what I heard from people talking. I would say if you're looking for a long-term solution at quarterback, no, don't pick up Jared Goff. You're not going to have a good time. But if you have a quarterback right now with a week 5 bye, a week 8 bye, or a week 10 bye, yes, go ahead and pick him up. Because those are the only weeks that I think he will be ultra serviceable in. The Washington football team week 5, Miami week 8, Seattle week 10. That's it. The rest of his teams, like Giants, 49ers, Bears, Bucks, 49ers, and Cardinals, right now are all really good against quarterbacks in fantasy, to where maybe the last 2 weeks were because, he was playing the Buffalo Bills, which was a shootout in that game. He had to come back, which he was going to throw the ball more. And then week 2, he played the Eagles, which we've already talked about. Is the Eagles are just not good. They're not a good football team. Last guy, Dave, I'm saying contender, mainly because he is now my starting tight end in our ESPN league, has had 16 and 14 points the last 2 weeks, goes up against the Bears this week. Mo Alley-Cox, tight end for the Colts. Is this somebody who can be a reliable tight end number 1 week after week after week, or do you still need to see a little bit more?
No, he looks the part. I mean, he is big, strong, fast, decent hands. Did not know if he was going to have them, but he does have decent hands. So I roll with him. I hate the Bears matchup, but he should be able to get some points.
Yeah. If you're someone who drafted Gronk thinking that he was going to do something, if you were one that was like me and drafted Zach Ertz because you thought he was going to do something, and
if you ignore my advice,
if you ignored Dave's advice, if you have George Kittle and George Kittle doesn't go this week, if Alley-Cox is there, pick him up. I'm doing it in my league that I have Zach Ertz. I picked him up last week. Didn't play him this week because I thought Lane Thomas would have a better game than he did in a matchup against the Browns. But yeah, Alley-Cox is my guy moving forward. He's the one I'm starting in that league. Dave, any final thoughts fantasy-wise before we go into our final question and wrap things up? Very simple question, Dave. Only question we got this week. Christian McCaffrey owners want to know, and this is also, there were some trade talks within our watch along of maybe some fantasy football, and the owner in our league, Sam, who has Christian McCaffrey, I gave him my opinion, Dave. I said no. But basically, if someone owns McCaffrey, should they trade him? Should they be looking to trade Christian McCaffrey to try to get some value, get some like basically two guys that can score, help them out now while McCaffrey is out.
If you think you're going to compete, you need to have Christian McCaffrey. Like that's the problem is he is a stud. And I mean, yes, he'll be out for a couple weeks. It'll hurt, but you gotta roll with the punches, baby. You gotta find yourself a backup. I mean, you had Mike Davis. We talked to Mike Davis for like the whole time. He was available in a lot of leagues. I don't know if he was available in our league. Yeah, you'll have to check that shit. But like,
I'll check it right now. I'm looking at it.
Should have been picked up like the day that Christian McCaffrey got hurt.
Let's see, Davis, is he available in our league? Mike Davis he's still available. He's still there.
We're claiming on him right now.
No, wait, never mind. Tim's got him. Never mind. Big time Timmy Jim. When does it say when he picked him up? No, it's not going to tell me when he picked him up. That's the one thing I like about ESPN. It'll tell you, God, if both apps were just combined into one super app, like that would just be completely great. But yeah, so he's not available in ours, but like, I mean, what I told, and this is yet again, Sam's in his own situation. So Sam right now is 1-2. How our league is looking is Dave's alone at the top, the only undefeated team in the MVP fantasy league.
I mean, it ain't close, people.
So David, you're averaging your points for this year. You have a total of 527 total points. You have given up 373.
Yeah, I'm a wrecking ball.
Yeah. To where, so Dave's number 1, 3-0. The other 3 playoff teams right now are Kyle Super Hippo. He's at 2-1. I'm at the 3 seed at 2-1. And then Brandon is at the 4 seed at 2-1 also. We have 2 2-1 teams in Sean and Austin, I believe. Yeah, Sean and Austin, who are on the outside looking in. 2 1-2 teams, Tim and Sam. And then Mark Weber and JD are at the bottom, sitting there at the only 0-3 teams this year. For me, like I told Sam, when I know that he did the whole, like, I'll think about it, but I was like, don't think about it. I'm like, Sean's only doing this to try to snipe him away from you. If you want to have a shot, here's the thing. If you want to have a shot in the playoffs, when it matters, week like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, whenever your team does it, like, you need Christian McCaffrey on your team. That's what you need.
I'll make a deal. Hey, I'll trade for Christian McCaffrey. I'll trade Sam.
Yeah, like,
you feel like you have to move. I'll find a deal.
If I am trading Christian McCaffrey, you better be giving me Russell Wilson. Like, I'm just going to look up the top. You better be giving me, like, Russell Wilson, the number 1 wide receiver, whoever has the most points wide receiver-wise, and then you better be giving me a, like, top, 15 running back. Like, that is, I would be that ridiculous with my trade offers for Christian McCaffrey. Because people who are asking you for Christian McCaffrey, they know what they're doing. It's like what I did in the like our friends league, Dave, where I was like, hey, Mark, I'm going to give you Austin Eckler. I'll give you Stephon Diggs. These are guys that can help you right now. I'll take Oster and Kittle off your hands. I knew what I was doing. I'm looking at the long game, the end game. I ain't looking for right now. And necessarily, I'm like, hey, I don't need Oster right now, but later in the season, he could help me. Kittle, I could get by. What?
Did you win or lose it?
Oh, I won. I won 11-90-something. I beat the shit out of Mike, which I know 111-97 ain't that much, but I'm cocky. I usually never beat the cookie cake, Dave. The cookie cake usually wins, so I feel cocky after beating him because of how cocky Mike gets. Mike, I still love you. But yeah, I'm 2-1 in that league. I'm 2-1 in our league. The only league I'm lower than dirt in is the random ESPN league that Brandon wanted to do with some of the guys that are in our dynasty league, where I'm 0-3 and I'm already like, well, fuck that league. Don't give a shit. My season is done over there. Do you want to know the roster I put out this week in my 0-3 league?
No.
Dave's like, no, I don't want to. No, okay, never mind. My app doesn't want to anyways, because it's uploading. Oh, never mind. That was quicker than I thought it would. Here, Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback to start off.
Catch him tomorrow.
No. So Aaron Rodgers, Melvin Gordon, Joe Mixon, Corey Davis, Juju Smith, Jonnu Smith, Todd Gurley, Gostkowski, and the Bears defense. That is what I rolled with. But that is going to do it for MVP Sports Live. Dave, being a little shit, I'm going to say right now. Dave can't hear me, but being a little shit. Ending the show early, not being professional, Dave. There, I'll call you out for it. But that's going to do it for MVP Sports Live. Thank you guys for hanging around with us. Make sure to join the Discord. Link down below in the description or !Twitch onto basically Twitch chat to get into that. It's a great community. Patreon.com/MVP-vids is how you go ahead and support us if you want to. You can also support us by throwing us a sub onto Twitch. Thank you, Soapy, for throwing Discord into there. You know what, Dave? I'm done with it. You talk in Twitch chat. I'll end the show. It's okay. I got this covered. Patreon.com/MVP-vids to go ahead and support us. And then last but not least, we're on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVP-vids, but we're also on YouTube at MVP Sports. Thank you guys for sticking with us. I might be back with Dave tomorrow. Who knows if he wants to show up after leaving the show early today. But we should be back tomorrow for another great show of sports news. Thank you guys for everything. And as always, have a good day, everybody.